Hey, everybody, before we start the podcast, I just wanted to let you know that I have been very, very busy and my psychic stand-up show and everything is going great. So I'm having a little trouble managing time. So I made the decision that from now on, the podcast will come out every 2 weeks instead of every week. That wasn't an easy decision to come to. Maybe it'll change back. But for now, that really works for me. So I hope you'll stick with me for 2 weeks at a time instead of one. So enjoy today's show, and we'll see you in a couple weeks.
Paranormal Karen, she's so spooky. Paranormal Karen, funny too. Paranormal Karen, she's so spooky. Oh, and did I mention she's funny too? Yeah, cha-cha-cha.
Hey, everybody, welcome to Paranormal Karen. I just want to yell, go ahead, Ryan, and start this podcast because you guys all know how great Ryan is. Also, this is coming out the beginning of June. So my new website should be up. It has a new, join the Patreon. We're doing all kinds of live readings. I'm having contests, all kinds of stuff. Or you can just get, if you want to learn to read, or if you just want to listen to two extra episodes, 2 30-minute episodes a month that are called My ADHD, where I talk about everything. But there is a new button on my website if you have a coffee shop, if you have a venue, and it's where psychic stand-up, where you can click and say, I want to book this show. And we can do small shows, big shows, whatever. If I'm coming your way, we will book it. So there's that. Now, I have Ryan on every 6 months. Fantastic, amazing astrologer. We are in it. It is 2024. Ryan, how are you, first of all?
All over the place. All over the place. It's so crazy because I was like prepping for this and re-listened to the last episode, and my fingers about fell off typing. I just need to pat myself on the back and be like, oh my God, so much of what we talked about has transpired.
Go ahead. Tell me what's, I feel like that. I felt like that about mine, about the Christian-y things but go ahead. Tell us everything that came forward in that first 6 months. I want to hear.
Yeah. You had actually brought up something basically about like the rise of women right now. And that is not slowing down at all. Clearly there was such a success with the Barbie movie, which was before this year even. But we talked about like the Grammy nominations, and then the Grammys rolled around, and it is like the year of women in music. So many women are releasing like music that's supposed to be expected to be like career defining music, Beyonce is causing like crazy waves right now with her country album that she just dropped. And Taylor Swift's about to as well, but I know that this is coming out after all of that. But huge year for women. We did talk a lot about the Israeli-Palestinian war, and we recorded that last episode shortly after the October 7th attack initially. And here we are, and it's quite a bit later, and it's still increasing. I'm interested in right around the 1 year mark of October 7th. So we'll kind of come to that.
Okay.
Huge like fusion of science and spirituality. I'm seeing that in a lot of the scientific circles. And then it's interesting how it's kind of popped up as a pop culture phenomenon.
Yes. And also, folks, we are taping this. Is coming out in June. We're taping this in April. So just so you have a frame of reference. Yeah.
Yeah.
We're taping this before the eclipse. Everybody can. Ryan, you're always that good. I'm just going to go out on a blanket. You are always that good. I look forward to taping with you and listening again to your episodes. So I didn't mean to put you on the spot there, but everybody go listen to Ryan's year mark, which would be 6 months ago, because spot on, including, I think last year you predicted how weird this April was going to be. And here we are.
Good God, April's nuts for sure. It's really like the threshold month. And at least in the first half of the year, August is going to get pretty crazy for the second half of the year. But April's a really strange month. I think like one thing I didn't I mean, I'm definitely going through it. Like as of like, we're recording in April, but when this comes out, I'm like, I don't know where in the world I'm actually going to be. Like quite literally, I have no idea where I'm going to be living. And I'm just like, it's funny because my theme for the year that we talked about in the last episode was imagination and transformation. And re-listening to that was like really interesting because I was talking about how, there's a lot of uncertainty that we're coming up on. And it's important when you don't really know where things are headed to visualize and try to imagine like where do you want things to go? And I'm like, dang, that is so true for me. I think, and a lot of people, like clients that I'm doing readings for, people just kind of feel like they are turning a corner and don't really know what's around it.
Yep.
And it's like, oh.
And I'm going to add to that because, and for you, Ryan, this is actually a decent idea, something called trusted house sitters. I know trusted house sitters. Take a look at that in case it's kind of good if you don't know where you want to live. And also, because I'm going to be floating around, but there's another thing about a permanent address if you want to talk to me later about that. Everything gets, I know, it gets hairy. It gets very hairy, and I think I've finally figured it out. But it's funny that you said August is going to be weird because August is the only month I don't really know where I'll be living. I'll be in Pennsylvania in June. I'll be in North Carolina in July. August, I'm not sure. And then my comedy, I think I have like 4 weekends left to the year that aren't booked. So it's on fire. Yeah. So
whoa.
I know. So anyways, you are right. And you know what else? No one seems to be living where they want to live. Have you noticed that?
No, it's 100% true. Oh my God. It's so true.
Right? They're like in between, or I want to go back, or where do I go next? But nobody's like, this is home. Very few people are feeling like at home.
Oh my God. It's literally nuts. You say that. I was just like, briefly catching up with you, but I'm like, I'm feeling very unsettled in LA. It doesn't feel like home. I just went home to Illinois and was honestly like kind of looking forward to it. I had to go for my, a few different reasons, like family related stuff. And I was like, I'm making this decision to go home for a while. I'm just gonna like reset in Illinois in the middle of nowhere and kind of, get my head on straight and figure out where I want to go from there. And when I got home to Illinois, I was like, I don't feel like home anymore.
I know. I remember on my way to Utica, I was like, I can make this work. I can make anything work. And then I got here and I was like, holy cow, I can't make anything work. It's way better now. And I'm going to be coming back and forth. So I'm not just leaving Utica, but I know exactly what you're like. Like people don't get it, how upsetting when you're living in the wrong place. And it's good to tell people, oh, change your words and speak more positive. But sometimes the authenticity is just, I hate it here.
Mm-hmm. Oh God. It's like you need, and your physical environment just matters so much about for your energy. It just matters. So I don't know. I'm feeling like a little bit of a nomad at the moment. Part of me is like, I mean, truthfully, actually, I've actually just applied for something. I'm like, should I go to Costa Rica and do ayahuasca this summer? Like, I am really like, I need to figure something's changing, and I don't know what it is. Trying to keep that visualization open.
Yeah. And I was telling you, I dream about LA every day, but I can't go back now. I don't know why. And yeah. So I don't know what it is. And hey, if you need any nomad tips, let me know because I'm buying camping equipment because I'm like, I'm going to sleep in my car. And then I'm like, that might happen one night and then be over. I don't know.
Oh my God, I know. That's like how it feels. It's like I'm definitely like learning. I've really had a revelation of like I can't commit to anything. There's a few different places and options, and I'm like, none as much as I like want some sort of like stability and put down roots and have community and feel that sense of home. It just feels like I'm not allowed to do that right now. And that is a really frustrating, disorienting feeling.
It is. And I was sort of a nomad to begin with. So for me, it's not as hard. Like my life is about travel. But I will say there was a woman on that said, she said, when you don't know where you're going, you're actually more in tune with the universe because you're not forcing anything. You're being kind of shown where to go.
my God, I hate it. Don't you? I don't know. Like, I'm trying, but man, it's lonely, you know?
Yeah.
Like, oh, Jesus.
Well,
I'm surrendering. But
yes,
God.
lonely is never a problem for me, and roots are never a problem for me. I'm pretty flexible with those things, but I will say, like, I just, now that I feel like now I have Utica down. I have all the open mics down. I have all the shows down. I know where to go. And other than like not being able to fly out because everything else, there's a lot of things wrong, but things are okay now for me to come back here. And I even look at my friends in the comedy scene and I'm like, maybe I don't want to leave this. But yes, it's very hard. And then you start to look at your bank account, no matter how much money is in there, and you question if it's enough.
Oh, yeah. Oh, God, yeah. It's just getting worse and worse these days.
Yes. Hey, well, maybe someday you and I are renting a place that you stay at 3 months and then I stay at 3 months. Who knows? We'll see.
Girl, I know. You said you might be in North Carolina. I'm like, well, I was thinking about South Carolina, so maybe I'll see you in a couple months.
Yeah, you know what? I would not, as long as there's 6-month leases and I have an airport to fly out of, it would be like, you want a roommate half the time, Ryan? We'll figure it out. But anyways, oh my God. So many, see, even just there's so many options, although I'm horrible to live with. So I would just throw that in the mix. So how much psychic energy would be in that apartment? But anyways, you're going to be fine. You're going to do great. You're going to be a nomad like me, and you can order your freeze dried meals now. I got all mine. So tell me, do we need generators and freeze dried meals for the rest of the year? Are we in it?
I'm dead. We are in a lot of stuff. I don't think that it's that dire. I just think, the second half of the year, we're going to be more clear-headed. Definitely. I don't think there's going to be such an ungrounded feeling. I think that's just kind of the nature of the springtime. Once summer hits, there's a lot more opportunity and options that I think we've got some more control over, prior to that kind of releasing the need for control. I think one of the big things because some of the themes we talked about before still apply, but there's some other stuff now that the year's transpired a bit that I want to talk about. One big thing is going to be Jupiter entering Gemini on May 25th, and it'll be there for a little over a whole year until June of 2025. A big thing I'm thinking about with that, I mean, media literacy, huge with that. But one thing that has really, really stuck with me is the idea that, Gemini rules the mind. It's a thinker, communicator. I'm a Gemini. Gab, gab, gab. But Gemini rules the hands as well.
Can I interrupt you for 1 second? When you said media literacy, what did you mean?
Okay, so one of the things, and this is interesting because it goes back to some of what we predicted. Like in the last one, we talked about this idea of people going missing.
Oh.
And we kind of talked about like some fake news energy in that as well. So one thing this made me think of is like just somewhat recently is the Kate Middleton stuff, right?
Yes.
Like all of a sudden, where is Kate Middleton? She literally went missing, and there were crazy rumors all over the place. That like spread of fake news and gossip and jumping on the bandwagon. And then, we talked about AI in the last episode. Go figure, Kate Middleton was missing. Photos were released. It was like altered images, News outlets have literally come out now and said that Kensington Palace is no longer a trusted news source. I mean, that's nuts.
Yeah. As if they were.
Yeah, I know, right? We're
not going to pretend they're a good news source anymore.
Okay. I'm dead. And I mean, you had even brought up gut issues as a big theme for this year, and she had abdominal surgery. We don't know what the cancer is, but she went in for abdominal surgery. And like, so there's just like that idea of how quickly rumors spread related to that, but then also once the news came out, like they're so ambiguous about what the actual facts are. Like we don't know what cancer she even has, Same with King Charles. We have no idea what his cancer is either. So that's sort of what I mean There's just going to be a lot of like people taking very surface level information and running wild with it. Jupiter expands and spreads and disseminates, and Gemini doesn't need to go off of a lot of information to run very far. Yeah. So I think a big thing that I've been thinking of with Jupiter and Gemini, and something that I just think it's almost like a suggestion that I would have for people, is it's a very flighty energy, and the need to ground yourself in the second half of the year is big. And I hate the word. I hate a lot of this spiritual stuff, like ground yourself. But actually, like the vibe I'm getting with it really is very Jupiter and Gemini, meaning Gemini rules the hands. So like you always think grounding yourself by like, go put your bare feet on the earth. In this case, I'm like, no, like really thinking about this. I'm like, well, I'm sure go do that, but work with your hands. When you work with your hands, I've recently learned this, it activates something in your brain called the effort-driven reward cycle, which basically is like work with your hands in kind of mindless, repetitive motion ways. Gardening, cooking, knitting.
I'm
collage.
knitting as we're talking.
Oh my God, I love it. No, this is perfect. That's perfect. Yeah. Like where you're not exerting too much cognitive energy, which seems almost like antithetical because Gemini rules the brain. It's like the conscious mind, like we're thinking constantly with Gemini. But in order for the Gemini part of us, which is where we're getting blessings, that's Jupiter. Like Jupiter's going to bring blessings to like Gemini traits, behaviors, qualities. But to strengthen the Gemini, it needs rest. The mind needs to detach and shut off. And when you do these repetitive motion activities with your hands, it actually triggers chemicals in your brain that make you happier. It reduces stress. It kind of resets that Gemini part of you so that you can move through future challenges with more resilience, increases your state of pleasure, and just makes your thought process more solid, I guess. And so I think anything you can do to work with your hands is going to be important, really for the whole next year. But I mean, it's just good for your health, but I just think it's going to be a grounding thing. Otherwise, if you're not really proactively shutting that brain off and just working with your hands, then I think that the Jupiter and Gemini stuff can get really out of control. It's like your mind is the ungrounded.
Okay, I have so much to add to this, and then we'll break and come back.
Please.
So, first of all, weird conversation. Go try and look at pictures of King Charles. He's king now. His hands are bizarre. So that's the first thing. Second thing, as I was a child living in a stressful home, I would do repetitive motion over and over and over and over and over. And I always felt like I was crazy, but I think I was just trying to reset everything. And I know that all that you just talked about, probably since it's May 25th, will be right around when this podcast comes out. We'll still be feeling it. I'm still going with the idea that light workers or healers or whatever the hell we're called, till we can get a better name, is get it a little before. I have had times when I cannot ground at all. And I have come to the conclusion that I am way overly sensitive. I used to think I was just like, no, I'm fine. I do my protection, everything. Way oversensitive right now, but I guess I asked to be more psychic, so that's helping. But I'm a Leo Sun, Aries Moon, Gemini rising. I can't get grounded for, like, I was starting to think I'm going to have to live like this. Okay, hang on, folks. We'll be right back.
Hi, I'm Becca. I'm an energy healer. In a session, I use intuition and conversation to help people remove blocks and allow healing of all kinds to happen. I help people with things like relationships, making sense of their awakening process, or beginning to heal a chronic illness. My favorite thing to do is help people remember who they are. I also do intuitive nutritional counseling, which combines my experience as a nutritional therapy practitioner with my intuition to help you heal your energy related to food. I do sessions over the phone or on Zoom. If you go to my website and feel a little buzz of resonance, I know a session will be beneficial. Check it out by going to regenerativelifefarm.com and click on the Energy Healing tab, because I'm also a regenerative farmer. That's regenerativelifefarm.com/energy-healing. Remember who you are.
All right, Ryan, I cut you off with Prince Charles's hands and whatnot, and go ahead, keep going.
Oh, yeah. And you corrected me that, it's not Prince Charles anymore. It's King Charles.
No, you said King
God.
Charles. You said King Charles. I was correcting myself.
Oh.
You got it right. No, I didn't correct you. I got it. I have to say in my mind, he's a king now, not a prince. He's really, really just a goofball.
He is. Well, let's see what happens with him. The royal family is nuts. Like with eclipses too, that's another thing I've been really looking into. Like so many of them are born at eclipses. Charles is born at an eclipse, married and announced his separation with Diana at an eclipse. Kate and William born at eclipses. Wow. Kate announced her cancer diagnosis on an eclipse. Like
Do
so
you think
many
they know
stories.
that?
Yes, they've had an astrologer. Like one of the most recent things was obviously King Charles' coronation, and that was something where I'm like, okay, they did not consult an astrologer for this because I don't know what astrologer would have picked that day. But that was an eclipse as well. His coronation was an eclipse. So interesting. Anyway, besides the point, just briefly running back to the hand thing, I will say there's a really cool book by a neuroscientist called Kelly Lambert. It's called Lifting Depression. And she's a neuroscientist. And she basically really links the fact that hands-on activity can change your brain in a way that basically prevents the onset of depression. So if you are feeling some type of way, there is so much evidence to support that hands-on activity literally will help you. When I've been dealing with so much stress lately, the weirdest thing, somebody told me this when I was a kid and I've never gotten it out of my head, and I don't know why, because I'm not a manly man by any means, but he told me when you're stressed, sometimes I just want to go to the middle of a field and build a big fence, just nail a bunch of pieces of wood together and build this really big fence and stand back and be able to look at this big fence I built. And I always think of that. and I really have been having that vibe. And then I learned all about this and got that book and was dang, there really is something. It's what you do with your hands. It's going to be important that you can step back and see and feel what you did with your hands. There is that gratification of wow, I did this. And, just the other day, I hands and knees scrubbed my bathroom and was I feel better doing this. So there really is a reward cycle with that.
When my mom gets all freaked out, we bring her yarn and have her roll balls of yarn, and it helps out a lot.
Oh, I love that. Yeah. There's just something to it. I think we got to clear the mind. The mind is going to be so overly functional, and it's going to be cool. People are going to pull off a lot of stuff, but in order to use the big boosty benefit of Jupiter and Gemini, which can be your ability to multitask, you need to reset. It's just you can't, an athlete moving their body so much has to rest their muscles,
Yeah. And you just tell me if you want to just keep going or you want me to lead you, because I have so many questions. And I have to say this, I have never slept so deep as in the last few days.
Oh
my God. Can't wake up.
Oh my God, so interesting. I'm not sleeping. I'm an insomniac these days, truthfully. The craziest stuff. I think one of the big things too that we talked about before that's really, really still coming on mind, I think it's interesting, is we're talking about the TikTok ban.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely feel that is moving forward in some very significant ways for sure. So we'll probably continue to see a lot more of that. And I think that that's going to become an issue more so with Jupiter moving into Gemini. Gemini rules communication, and Jupiter's the spread of information. And with Pluto, planet of death, but also a big generational planet in Aquarius, very interconnected and kind of information access being equal to everybody. There's a sense of the powers that be kind of clamping down on what information people have access to, because there's so much of it right now, right? For better or worse. For the worst would be the incessant rumors about Kate Middleton and what was going on with her, like people just ran with that. But it's also not great. It's like the TikTok ban, not great in so many ways. Like that's how
Right.
people are mobilizing right now.
That's some
I think
people's money. That's their income.
absolutely. I'm definitely having to that's a big platform for me. And like I'm definitely like I gotta what do I go on YouTube or something? I don't know. Like people still using YouTube.
What's next? What's next? Nobody knows.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't know, like, are they going to prevent the creation of new platforms? I'm not really sure. I think especially this will be the case. Like, we will probably see some censorship themes in media, social media, and people's inability to get the truth around August 19th and December 24th. Those two dates, Jupiter and Gemini, is going to be in a square with Saturn in Pisces. That's a fairly rare transit. This is also an interesting one because Jupiter relates a lot to like grandparents. Gemini is the mind, conscious mind. Saturn has a lot to do with hardship and difficulty, and the elderly. And Pisces has a lot to do with the nature of memory and like Alzheimer's slipping away. And when I had mentioned this in the last podcast, and you're like, and we had referenced it specifically into the idea of people going missing, and you were like, oh man, like my mother who's got dementia right now,
Pisces.
and
yeah,
is a Pisces. My grandma, who we just moved into an Alzheimer's facility, is a Gemini. So I'm like, dang, this idea of memory issues is like also becoming a thing. So I'm really wondering if around these two dates as well, August 19th and December 24th, if we might notice some sort of, there can be an Alzheimer's breakthrough, dementia breakthrough, or memory related scientific breakthrough, I guess. But I'm also wondering if we're going to see the cases of that skyrocket or, even just like the idea of the elderly crisis right now, like healthcare. People are living so much longer and we're spending so many resources to keep people alive longer. And it's a burden on the healthcare system, quite frankly, which is like a controversial thing to say, but this makes me feel like this could, around these 2 dates, August and December, I'm like, that conversation about like euthanasia could become bigger, right now it's about death with dignity, but at a certain point it's like, do we open that option up to more people?
You know what? I will tell you, they, first of all, I was making kind of a joke about this, but I can't, I feel like just canceling my health insurance and whatever I'm paying, just keep sending to GoFundMe's because everyone's got to GoFundMe because this system sucks. It sucks. Now, where we have my mother, where she's paying, okay, she's going to go through all her money before, because memory care is private pay, not Medicare. And then she'll go into Medicare pay and she'll have to move to nursing. But I am telling you, they cannot find people to do that work. It is bureaucracy. It is a nightmare to get someone in after you have found a place. There are no places. There are no openings. And especially when you find a good one, we were unbelievably lucky. And then there's rumors the place is going to close. So we have a drill that if it closes, that they have 3 months to place my mom again, which now you're moving someone for the third time. She had to go to the hospital. That was the first move. They had to send her to rehab. That was the second move. Then they had to send her to where she is now. And she's so confused. So this, and here's the last part of this. You got me on my soapbox. I didn't know this. There was no Alzheimer's before 1979. Did you know that?
Yeah, that's like a thing,
right?
Thing.
That was when they started noticing how much plastic was in our systems.
Yes, and we just disrespected water. Like this was also something we literally discussed this in the last podcast episode, like how like we're really abusing the elements right now. And as like we disrespect these 4 main elements, we're seeing a very material manifestation of how those elements can disrespect us. Like water is memory, the element of water, and we are really like the access to clean water is just dwindling. We're like completely abusing water.
And I still feel like that's something like the government dumping in the Hudson here. Like
Oh, yeah.
This is part of the revolution. And this is the part where I want people to go, what are you doing? And the crazy, whatever, my governor with the eyes that never point in the same direction at one time, whatever her name is, you look at her and you're like, this is the one that said, God wants you to get the vaccine. I don't know if she's a Christian or just a psycho. She's a psycho, but she dumped all the radioactivity into the Hudson. Nothing you could do. Nothing you could do. It's fine. It's a small amount. Anyways, okay.
Oh my God. Oh. The revolution stuff we talked about a lot before too, and that's definitely been transpiring, like obviously picking up a lot. There's more people talking about unionizing and strikes, and even your idea of like, I want to just cancel my health care, and seeing an actual movement of that, like people just really rejecting the systems that are currently in place. And I do not see that slowing down, aside from the fact that something like, TikTok being taken down decreases people's ability to mobilize and jump on those movements, I guess.
The 4B movement with women, I don't know if that's a movement, but I think it is. Just not dating, not having sex, not anything with men.
Oh, yeah. No, that's a huge movement. And again, like, right, like this rise of like women empowerment. It's huge right now this year. So true. I also want to say, and because this I think can come up again as themes around that Jupiter-Saturn square, this idea of, the people going missing, but we had like a lot of these themes we talked about before are weirdly overlapping. It's like, not just like, oh, one little instance. It's like, wait, 3 of these themes that we talked about have all shown up in these like couple cases. It's weird. So like when we talked about, literally, I think like verbatim, I was like, things being shot down from the sky, plane, airline accidents, weird, bizarre news with airlines, and shipwrecks. What have we had? Boeing really screwing up with their planes, and then we just had that ship run into the bridge in Baltimore. Like, I think that there are going to be, and that was specifically predicted for like springtime, so that was right on target.
Nice job.
We could see more of that coming for sure. But then even like one case that I thought was really interesting was that college student who went missing, the Mizzou student Riley Strain. He was in Nashville and wandered out of a bar really drunk. Saturn and Pisces ruling alcoholism, and Saturn is security. Security kicked him out of the bar. He walked down toward a bridge on the river and literally went missing for like 2 weeks. Saturn causes delays. They couldn't find anything about him for like 2 weeks time. And then he finally turned up. But when he turned up, like his clothes were missing. It's been quite a while since then. And his family is still like waiting on so many answers. Like there's just been such a delay there. And get this missing student, his body was discovered on March 22nd. What else happened March 22nd? Oh, Kate Middleton, who'd been missing for months, announced she had cancer diagnosis. So there was this weird emergence on March 22nd.
Was this also? I had to turn off the news. It was I've turned off all the news and all the broy bros, and they may have all the answers to the universe, but I can't right now. This one they kind of thought this had something to do with the smiley face murderer.
Oh, I don't know.
Okay,
I don't know.
And just as a side note, this is really interesting because people know the missing 411 files where people just go missing like hunters. Well, the best one is go watch the one about hunters missing 411 hunting of people that knew the woods. And I think what was happening there, which I think Derek Condit explained on a couple of podcasts ago, I think it's happening now everywhere. Like everything, like remember the old joke, oh, how come it's only, rednecks in the woods that see UFOs. Not anymore.
Mm-hmm. Oh God.
Yeah. All that stuff is coming to cities now.
Yeah, that's a huge one. Like that's your Pluto and Aquarius transit, like which I think I kind of avoided that because I just thought it was so obvious. Aquarius is the alien. Pluto is definitely like bringing the idea of aliens online for everybody, but it's really picking up. I mean, kind of briefings that people in Congress have had lately. I mean, they're walking out of these meetings like deer in headlights, literally. And then there's this guy, I think I had sent him to you on TikTok, Elroy Spacely. He is, I forget if it's Harvard or Stanford, but very intelligent, well-educated man, is just like updating on TikTok about everything related to alien disclosure. And I mean, there's some like wild stuff. Like, have you heard about the Soul Foundation?
No.
So interesting. It's kind of like a little secretive, but not really, but kind of. And that's very like Pluto is very, secret stuff, but it's a gathering. Pluto and Aquarius. Aquarius congregates people. The Soul Foundation is a gathering of like the top minds in the world across many different fields. They're all coming together and they go to, the biggest conferences in their fields. And there's videos on the Soul Foundation's website of them saying this is one of the most well put together things. There is so much evidence about, like alien life exists. And the point of the Soul Foundation, they've built out a whole timeline. It's how do we prepare people for the disclosure? They're literally like, they're not even like, are aliens real? We should look into this. They're like, no, it's happening. And we need to figure out how do we literally let the public know. What is up with that?
That was one of the best Art Bell shows I heard, where a guy came on and said, okay, so you're going to tell me that, like, people, when they first started seeing UFOs, freaked out so bad. And this could start a religious war, because the really strict, I didn't even know they were still around, but they are on I tear them on talk radio now. Really strict Christians and Catholics are going to find UFOs, as they always said they didn't exist because that's denying God. They will have mental breakdowns. People will have mental breakdowns. And I know they've been putting in slowly, but he used to have on this woman that was always very interesting, talking about the RAF chips and talking about all this stuff. She was so like into the science of conspiracy theories, which now we all know it's all true. And she said if aliens were real, she would kill herself. So,
God.
I know. So they are exactly right to be very careful with this.
Yeah, they need to be. It's really going to upend a lot of stuff. This is another theme that really overlaps with things we were talking about for more validation. Is right now, at least, or when this comes out, it'll probably still be a big show. But the Netflix just put out a show called Three Body Problem, which is so weird because before I even knew it was a Netflix show, I had just finished reading the book trilogy it was based off of. This is important because you had predicted in the last episode that there's going to be like a rise in Asian media, like Asian TV shows and movies. And it's true. Like Netflix is investing billions of dollars in that. And this TV show is based off of a book series that was like China's biggest sci-fi series. But the whole thing is about like basically first contact with aliens, but it is the most mind-blowing thing in the world.
Okay,
like
what is it called?
Things in it.
Three
body problem.
Okay.
It is insane, and it has so much to do with that fusion of science and spirituality and how like alien extraterrestrial life and what that means would really like change things. And like, I mean, cults are starting up, like worshiping the aliens. Like there's so many ramifications.
That was
about
my
what this
biggest
could be.
one. Cults are coming, and the old born again Christian. That's the new, and I don't mean that's a grift for everybody, but that's the new grift. There you watch celebrities with the born again Christians, and Trump is selling Bibles, and Russell Brand is forgiving the women he raped. What? Okay, enough.
Oh my God, no, you're like spot on. There's definitely some weird emergent stuff going on too. I think of like this born again Christian vibe and like religion getting way more culty, particularly around, I think the September 17th, there's going to be a Pisces full moon eclipse. And that has like very biblical, weird religious themes going on. So I would really look for September to see like some religious movements getting a little creepy.
You know what? And I'm going to throw something in here that not a prediction, but something that's easy, and then we'll jump to the break. Oh my God, Brian, I could do podcasts for 7 hours with you.
I know. I have so much to say.
Watch the stuttering and jumping back of the evangelicals when aliens come up. My landlady is 24/7. She's really Christian. Well, she's Christian, but she loves me. She doesn't care that I do tarot, which is really weird. She has this one preacher on 24/7 in there, and I'm like, watch them when the alien thing comes up, because they're either going to cause the problem and tell everyone they need to fight this or something, or they're going to become part of the solution, but they're going to have a huge impact. Go ahead. Oh, we'll take a break. We'll come right back.
Discover Moon Mama Shop, an inspiring metaphysical enterprise rooted in Grand Rapids, Michigan. Founded by Kenzie, a gifted 5/1 projector in human design, this burgeoning business is a testament to her innate ability to read people. Specializing in Reiki, tarot, and oracle readings, Kenzie brings profound insight and healing to her clients. Certified in Holy Fire Reiki 1 and 2, Kenzie is on her journey towards mastering this transformative practice. Whether you're in Grand Rapids or beyond, experience the soothing energy of her home studio for in-person sessions, or opt for virtual sessions for the same immersive experience from the comfort of your own home. Kenzie's approach is deeply trauma-informed, drawing from her own healing journey to create a safe space for others to release energy blockages and realign their chakras. Each session includes a personalized written report detailing her findings and intuitive messages received. For those seeking guidance through tarot or oracle readings, Kenzie offers convenient email consultations, allowing you to revisit the messages over time. Explore her offerings and pricing at moonmamashop.com and stay connected on Instagram and TikTok at moonmamashop.
Okay, we're back. And I keep interrupting you. Go ahead. And we were talking aliens, and I want to make sure we get to politics. Are we going to have I think we are. People always say we're not if we have an election or if this is the last pope. And I've never had those two come true. I've never made those. Well, maybe I have. I don't think I've made those predictions, but go ahead. You hit it, Ryan.
Yeah, I have definitely seen astrologers talking about, like, is there even going to be an election? Like, I mean, I think so. I don't know why we wouldn't, I guess, but it's a wonky one for sure. There's some crazy stuff going on in both Biden and Trump's charts, and the astrology right around that point is chaotic. There's a lot happening. I will say, like, okay, so we've got like some stuff on both their charts to bring up, but in general, big topics that I think we need to look out for are going to be this idea of, I mean, again, with Jupiter moving into Gemini, how that can really warp and expand the false news, coupled with this like really rapid emergence of AI and deep fakes, right? Like any election tampering or meddling that I think we've experienced in the past, I feel like this year can like totally usurp that. And bring up like really big things that we're not even conceptualizing at the moment, right? Like, I think we're going to have some serious issues around like what's real and what's not.
Well, I wonder, because they already said there were fake calls made of Joe Biden's voice. I wonder if that is how they take away our right to vote by coming up with a new way, like maybe doing away with our vote and our representatives have to vote because there's no way for us to vote without it being tampered on. Maybe that's when people say that our last election, maybe that's what like a way it could go. Like, yeah, we can't take individual votes anymore. So vote, locally.
Really interesting. I know. And I mean, I think that matters. Like people really put so much emphasis on the presidential elections. I understand, but I'm kind of like, honestly, like I don't want to go like my personal politics into it, but I'm like, neither of them seem great to me. You know?
You're on with me. And I don't believe there is a lesser of two evils here either.
No, I think there's just a lot of evil. and I'm kind of like, who cares who wins the presidency? I mean, I care, but like whatever, because there's still, it's not going to take away the fact that there's so many rusty cogs in the political machine right now at every level. So
and they're all bought. They're all bought. Yeah. It's like saying, which side of the sword do you want me to cut your head off with? Just pick a side.
Literally. Okay, so I think like the three big themes that I would say are, I mean, they're this isn't like news to anybody, like not a huge prediction, but we did talk about it in the last episode too, is immigration, which was just actually named the number one issue for voters right now. And that's huge. Topics around that are going to continue to expand because that's Saturn and Pisces. Saturn rules authority figures, right? And boundaries, literal walls. But Pisces dissolves them. So the idea of people crossing boundaries is huge right now. And then the economy, obviously, is like terrified about their money. And the kind of need also to digitize things. We also talked about crypto booming in the springtime in our last podcast.
Oh,
here
yeah,
we are,
it's up,
crypto's
yeah.
booming again. So the need to, and the U.S. isn't even really talking about like adopting crypto necessarily, but they are having conversations about how behind we are in terms of like a digital U.S. dollar. And so they're trying to figure out like a timeline for how do we move currency online and USD form. And then reproductive rights being another huge issue. So like, I think these are going to be the three biggies that we'll see on more of the national stage. But I just want to say, lingering in the background of all that, there's, I think, a lot more to do with the whole Project 2025 stuff. And
when you
term
say
limit.
Term limits, okay.
Yeah. And I mean, there's a lot to do with the Project 2025, and that would be like something that gets exacerbated if it's Trump.
When you say Project 2025, what is that?
That is like a Republican-led plan that's quite out in the open, which makes me also think like, okay, well then what are you hiding if this is out in the open? But it's very much about like a lot of the themes we're already dealing with of like completely rolling back trans rights, gay rights, women's rights.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, it's just like listed out there in black and white of like where they want to turn this country in 2025 should Republicans really take over. But a big part of that too is turning this into a plutocracy. Pluto literally, like, and the people who gain wealth or gain power through wealth, right? And so really looking around toward this as the election gets closer, like what is happening with the billionaire class? Where's their money going? How many billionaires exist at that point? And I think the flow of money is going to be incredibly important. But the term limits, I think, is just going to be this like kind of thing in the background that like media is not talking about. And so I just don't feel like it's going to be in public discourse much, but I think it's going to be important. Which on either end of it, like including Supreme Court reform, like how can judges still stay on for lifetime limits? And also, are they expanding or decreasing the Supreme Court? You know, so that's like a looming issue. And at this point around the election, Pluto will move back into Capricorn for the final time in September to November. Pluto's in Capricorn one last time. And that's shady. That's the late stage capitalism stuff. The Pluto in Capricorn is behind closed doors meetings with the powers that be, the Plutocrats, literally. So I'm really, really not excited for September through November in particular, just because I think, especially if TikTok's banned by that point, access to true, reliable information or the ability to try to get it could really be diminished. And then it's like, well, what are we being funneled? And it's like, there's a serious level of gatekeeping going on around this election. So
yes. And people are getting paralyzed and then they're just, I'm sorry. I didn't even need to throw that in, but I do feel like people are getting paralyzed. Like I can't do anything. Like the healthcare. Wow, we can do something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, literally, you just gave a solution, which is working for certain people, right? I mean, that's another thing we're even seeing on TikTok is like somebody being like, whoa, I've got this like hardship. Like, if I hate that I'm doing this, but if you can donate $1, and then a ton of people will donate $1 and make up for whatever that person needs to pay for, you know, that hardship. Like, we can crowdsource. That is the benefit of Pluto in Aquarius, which will continue, even though Pluto's going to go back into Capricorn for a little brief blip. Like, Pluto and Aquarius energies are now out there, and they will continue to grow. So this idea of mutual aid and coming together as community to help one another is really important, and we need to rely on that. So get involved, get active if you can. Like not a time to isolate. as far as Biden's chart goes, if I had to like predict,
he's not going to make it, is he?
Well, okay, my guess would be that he will be president. I really, if I'm looking at them both like as objectively as possible, I think he'll get it. I don't think he'll last through 2025 though.
Okay.
Like there's some really crazy stuff after the election.
I had Trump picked, but go ahead.
It could be like, it really could be. Both of them have like kind of equal part pros and cons going on. Yeah, but they're very different. With Biden, I don't want to get too specific into the like exact planets. Like Biden's actually got some like really advanced astrology stuff going on. So I would spend too long talking about what it actually is. So just trust me. In a nutshell, I think he has got more favorable stuff, like traditionally favorable things going on in his chart, and how his chart aligns with the United States' birth chart is like a smoother than Trump's. I think.
Do you? This is a weird offshoot. Do you think this is the same person? I know that's a crazy, but I have to tell you, when he was first elected, I was looking at him and I was like, "That's not going to last." And then all of a sudden, he was, he could get out in front of that mic and do what he couldn't do before. And of course, we're not having any debates, are we?
Mm-hmm, right, like the access information, like right, it's getting clamped down on. Yeah, we're not. Why are we not having debates? This makes literally no sense. I think it's the same person, but at the same time, I'm like, there are serious advancements happening that like we're probably not privy to.
Right.
And like biohacking, like I don't know. I have no idea what turns him on and off, but it does feel like there's some sort of magical switch that they're able to flip. And that will be the case, like with him as the election gets closer to. Like what's going on in his chart is really interesting. He's going to have like a very zesty type of vibe, like sort of like how he was at the State of the Union address. It's like somebody pumped him full of Adderall. Like I just think we're going to see that, it's kind of weird. Like I think it'll kind of come off to some people like he's being a try hard and he's trying, too much, like putting in too much effort almost. Mm-hmm. And so he can come off pretty chaotic and impulsive. I think we're going to see that. But I actually think like behind the scenes, what's going on with him personally, assuming he is still Joe Biden, is that he's nervous. And I think he's going to try and like that anxiety he's feeling is actually going to be a pretty serious fuel source for him, like adrenaline really kicking into gear in weird ways too.
I don't, that's so funny because knowing my mom and her Alzheimer's, I don't even feel like he's in that body. But I agree with you, like they pumped him with Adderall or something. But some things, like I guess some people have some theories about clones. That would not surprise me.
No, I know. And yeah, who's to say? I will say I did just listen to a podcast, though, like a hilarious podcast, I forget what it's called, but it was about the conspiracy about Avril Lavigne being a clone. And it was like it was a comedian who pretended to basically be like a BBC journalist. And she did this like 6-part episode series about like, was Avril Lavigne like replaced by a doppelganger? Is she not real? And it was so funny. Like she actually went pretty in depth into this, but then they had a whole episode on the nature of doppelgangers. And it's actually like really difficult. Like you can kind of like have doppelgangers and body doubles enough for like a paparazzi photo. But when you really look at it, like it's like your chance of actually having somebody who could effectively act as you, like 1 in a billion, like very, very hard, like with body stature and all sorts of facial things, like a little dimple adds like millions of extra variation to you. So it's crazy.
Somewhere I saw an article and I couldn't click on it because I refuse to click on articles where they want you to subscribe to read them. But the title of the article was CIA makeup it was the person that does the CIA makeup to form them into other people.
See, that's a good point too. Yeah. Yeah, you can't really tell with that stuff. Like that who's to say then? So whether he's Biden or not, I don't really know. But I will say tactically, I think as the election gets close, really, especially like September onward, I think he's doing some really bizarre diversification tactics. Like I think he's he's got this like that Scranton Joe persona. It seems to be really coming online, and he's galvanizing very unusual demographics. Like right now, he is so focused on like the establishment Democrats, and I mean, he's really losing the young vote. Like there are so many millennials, Gen Zs who are like, we're just not voting. Like he is not somebody worth voting for. And so they're just like, they're not going to vote. But I think he's going to realize that. And I think he's going to do some really unexpected, almost like even guerrilla marketing tactics to try and get the youth vote. Will he be successful? I don't know. But I definitely see him going after youth and going after people who are overlooked and on the fringes of society. And that's so bizarre. Like, especially once I talk about Trump and what's happening there, it's almost like they flip flop approaches a little bit.
Wow.
Because Biden seems to be going for doing weird like advertising and marketing, and even like his values changing a little bit. I don't know how to put that.
I remember when he was running and I was at the Comedy and Magic Club and Cristela Alonso was being one of his, she was out, she's a very popular female, obviously female, Latino comedian, and she was out like actively working for him. So he may get a bunch of rock stars or whatever to do this, you know?
This is interesting to me. I mean, maybe, but I feel like if that happens, I feel like they're going to almost be too much at a distance from Joe Biden where it doesn't feel like a unified thing.
Well, I mean, I think their only argument, because they blew every chance to give you your body rights. I'm sorry. You can still say the Democrats they're not fighting for you. They made sure so that at this point you'd be like, well, we have to vote for the Democrats if we want women to have their rights. That's what they did. And they boxed out Kennedy. Who everybody that watches Kennedy, both sides, when they watch him for an hour, they come out going, I would vote for that guy. So they had to get rid of him. But I think the only thing is how dangerous Trump is, which I don't think either. I think they're the equal danger, but Trump is, you're going to lose your country. They keep saying he's going to do all this. He's going to do everything Biden did to him. That's what they're saying basically. But it's like, no, he didn't do that last time. And every election I've ever seen was the most important. We'll get a third party next time. But I feel like that out there, you can't. Trump is going to, all you Mexican Latinos are going to be deported. What? That's I think is their only, like, to scare.
Yeah. Part of me is like, well, you know, if like they're both like, we're going to kill you now, Ryan. Like, I feel like Joe Biden will always give me like a pillow or something. And like, you do it for us. Like, I feel like Trump's going to like prod and poke at me and like laugh like a child. You know, I don't know.
Except that, remember, Trump never laughs. I've looked this up. There's no tape of him laughing. He does not.
Weird. Ooh, I don't like that. That gave me the chill.
Yeah.
Because he's such a maniacal child at the same time.
Yeah.
So sociopathic. So I think like what's weird is like Joe is obviously the established Democrat, right? But I think we're going to see him trying to fit into that underdog role. I mean, and aligning and speaking to kind of underdog audiences to try and get that fringe vote. And really, I think he's kind of scraping the bottom of the barrel. Like I do think he's worried. And I think he's trying to shift the energy away from himself, like a little bit, where he's trying to, I think his messaging is going to be really focused on like what's good for the people rather than I'm the right candidate, look at me. I think he's really going to try to create a message of unity. We'll see if it works. And then Trump, conversely, is different. How I'm seeing it, at least, I'm really curious about this, but he's also doing out of left field moves. Both of them, I think, are taking some weird approaches that, like, I don't think people are going to expect. Trump, though, you know how before it's like it's always the Trump show, and I think that won't really go away. Of course, he's such a figurehead; it's going to be about him. But I think he knows that, and I think he's going to play it a little smarter. And whereas Biden starts going after like the fringes and the weirdos in society and trying to get them on his side, that's what Trump usually does. I think Trump's going to go very centered. And I think it's going to speak to families and more traditional people. And I think he's going to try and ground himself because of how quote unquote crazy Joe seems and is being painted, right? I think Trump's going to try and normalize himself a little bit. And I think to enhance some sort of sense of trust. And he has such social energy. Like there is like social prowess all in his chart leading up towards this election and on the election itself. And he has huge vibes about family, speaking to families, talking about family ideals, and then also really big like alliance building energy in his chart, which is where I'm like, if Joe tries to get a bunch of rock stars, they're going to just seem like little surrogates running around on their own. And it's not really a coordinated effort. Trump feels like he's showing up with like a unified force, like where it's not just like, it is Trump, obviously, but there's a whole, I feel like it seems prepared.
Like
Trump's
there's
got
a team.
Yeah. And it feels like it's more reliable. Like, oh, wait, well, no, I don't like either plan, but Trump's plan seems more thought out. And he seems like he's already got like all these people on his side. And like Trump's surrogates are going to be so much more aligned and a part of Trump. And I think Trump's willing to share the spotlight this time around. I really do. It's the weirdest thing.
Well, I think what I see in my mind, which is he is good that he will take it down a notch, which even when I see him talk now, remember how he just used to lie and it just used to come out and it was so smooth that you were like, I understand why people would believe this, because it was just, that's not what they're doing and blah, blah, blah. It was so confident lying. But I bet what you're going to see on that stage is his whole family, including Barron. Is it Barron? That's his name?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Like a family photo.
Yeah. And I think it's just strategic. Like they've been missing, basically like the family has not been a part of this. And now I think that's going to be like their secret sauce. It's like, now let's get the family values back online. I just see that so strongly with his messaging and his imagery. Whereas at the same time, Biden's like departing and doing this very individualistic, like champion of the underdog, scrappy guy thing. And I think that's going to be a weird vibe, like where it's like all of a sudden it's not Trump versus Biden. It's Biden out here hanging on his own versus this like Trump alliance that feels so big, like strength in numbers on that side,
Yeah. And, and one last thing, and then we'll see if anything to wrap up. This is a really interesting, like I had a particular video on TikTok go right over 1 million really fast. And it was like defending middle-aged women. And it went like everywhere, but it got so much hate that I just took it down. But I didn't realize when you take it down, people are still stitching it and it's still out there.
Yeah.
So people are emailing me now asking me, where is that tape? Can I stitch that tape? And I'm just like, and they're very nice, but I'm always like, you know what? I just don't want to take on that hate. The Trump family were hated beyond hate, and they have almost alchemized that into this team that you're talking about. Like, I don't know that they're particularly smart or not smart, but I don't think they were expecting, because, and I don't, believe me, I promise you, I like nothing about Trump. But I mean, remember how funny Saturday Night Live was with the two brothers? Did you?
Two brothers
with the two Trump sons?
Oh, yeah.
They were so funny, and that was so brutal. Like, they got beat up so much that I think they're back now. And exactly what you're talking about is that united front. Like, you don't pick on my brother, you don't pick on my mom, like that. Like, I think that's what you're talking about, is they went and got their shit together.
Yeah, it's the strangest thing. Like, and I think that they're doing this like unity thing with, honestly, like a sense of humor. This is why I think it's really interesting. You just said Trump never laughs. Watch. We're going to start seeing him laughing all the time. And I think he's like humanizing himself a little bit because he's contextualizing himself within a family unit or within like a community of some sort. And I think what they're going to do and the lightness that they're bringing to it, oddly, will resonate with quote unquote American families and that traditional American value thing. And I think his supporters feel like they're going to know their talking points. Like, all of his voters will have their will be surrogates, basically. Whereas, like, I think on Biden's end, he's really diversifying himself, and I think that causes a lack of unity. Like, it's a good thing in a sense, tactically, but it's like it feels like all Democrats are focused on a different thing regarding the election, whereas Republicans are probably going to be very narrow focused on one specific thing. Biden seems a little more serious, even though he's like doing a funny, zany, like scrappy guy thing. I think he's taking it more seriously and professionally or something. But Trump, I think, is trying to add some weird humanization and humor to the whole process that I think, honestly, some people are going to find very refreshing. I think that with the seriousness of the world, I think having a little bit of like a more jovial type of president could end up being attractive to some people, for sure.
Right. Okay. My next podcast is texting me. Are you ready? Are you ready? Anything, Ryan, to close up?
I'd say be careful if there's any like spurts of violence. Try to not give into that before the election. Like 3 days before, there's a Mars opposing Pluto. Not fun. That often correlates to violence. Knowing it's so close to the election.
Okay.
Be careful with that. And then Mars is going to turn retrograde at the very end of the year, December 6th. We'll start feeling that in October, though, and that's going to cause all sorts of issues, but that'll probably be felt more personally, not so much on a current event end.
Got it. Okay. All right. All good. And we'll talk to you at the end of the year.
Okay.
Okay. And I adore you. Ryan's Astrology. That's where you have ryansastrology.com. Also, buy his calendar. Do you have the calendar app is amazing.
It is amazing. And we just launched a big membership portal too. There's so much information in there. There's blogs, webinars. Like, we're adding so much in there. We're literally turning it into community, Pluto and Aquarius, and trying to like actually help people. Like, we're going to have a job board in there and have people connect with each other, like a cooler LinkedIn. You know what I mean? Honestly, where it's like, there's a support system here to help you freaking stay afloat, stay connected, do collabs with other people if you want to, but like using astrology as a framework to help you find success in life right now. It's really like so anti-capitalist. Like, I know I'm like kind of like turning astrology into a capitalist venture with this a little bit, but like not really. Like, I'm literally trying to change the idea of the workforce.
It's amazing. It's amazing.
Yeah. And I'm giving your listeners throughout June. I'm not sure exactly what day this comes out, but all of June, if you use the code Paranormal30, 30, on the bismoceo.com, you can find it through my website too. Then you'll get 30% off the cost for a whole year. Yeah.
Yay. Awesome. All right, Ryan, thank you so much again. I'll talk to you soon off air. And yeah, thanks everybody. Thanks to Mike at Uno Rising Media. We'll see you next week.
Paranormal Karen, she's a spooky kind of queen.